Hello, I'm Nutritionist Ruth Tongue, and today we're going to be looking at sugar and the question of whether I should really quit sugar. Do I need to go cold turkey, or can I have it as part of a healthy, balanced diet? Now, this is one of the questions as a nutritionist I get asked all the time. Do I need to go on a sugar detox? Should I cut it out for Lent or for my New Year's resolution? So first of all, we're going to look at what exactly sugar does in the body, how much we really need, and then I will give you my 3 top tips for minimizing the impact that sugar can have on our physical and our mental health. So first of all, how do we handle sugar in the body? Well, whenever we eat any food that's high in refined carbohydrate, it breaks down into simple glucose. Now, we either keep this glucose circulating in our blood, or we're able to mop it up where it's stored as muscle glycogen, or it's converted to fat and stored as fat. Now, whenever this happens, unfortunately, we create inflammation in the body. Now, a little bit of inflammation is totally normal, and actually we need some inflammation in the body. But when that inflammation becomes chronic and it's ongoing, then we know that it can lead to serious health conditions like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and also most of our cancers. So too much inflammation is not something we want. Now, having said this, we do need some sugar in our diet, and we know that all of the cells in our body use glucose as their primary energy source, particularly our brain. So our brain uses about 80% of the glucose that we take in. And without it, we would really struggle mentally and with mental performance. So the World Health Organization recommends that a maximum of 10% of our total energy intake comes from what we call free sugars. Now, these are all of the sugars found in food apart from fruit, vegetables, and milk products. Now, ideally, we'd get that down to about 5%. But if that doesn't really mean anything to you, you could also note that it's recommended we have a maximum of 6 teaspoons of sugar per day. And that's not usually from the sugar that we're adding to food, but it's from all of our ultra processed foods that we're consuming. So this moves me on nicely to what can we do to minimize the impact that that sugar we're consuming has on our health. And my first tip would be always try to consume your carbohydrate with either some protein or some fat or some fiber, or all 3. So for example, if you're having a slice of toast, instead of having it, say, with some jam, which is essentially 2 highly refined carbohydrate foods, you could add some avocado or some eggs and perhaps a big portion of some fiber, so some spinach or mushrooms or tomatoes. And all of this will slow down the release of the sugar into our bloodstream. My second tip would be to switch from our really refined carbohydrates to more unrefined whole foods. So an example would be, instead of having white rice, you could switch to brown rice. Or instead of having white bread and baguettes, you could switch to a whole grain bread or a rye bread. Or you could switch from a very sugary glass of orange juice to eating the whole fruit. And this means you're going to benefit from keeping that fiber in the fruit, which again will slow that release of the sugar into your bloodstream. And then my third tip would be to try to avoid as much as possible what we call ultra processed foods in the diet. Now, these will naturally be much higher in sugar, salt, our less healthy fats, and also lots of things like our preservatives and emulsifiers, all these ingredients that we don't really recognise. You know, they're very far removed from how that food would look in its natural form. So, to summarise, we do need some carbohydrate and sugar in the diet. We do want to limit that when it comes to refined carbohydrates and sugars. But there are some techniques that you can take and you can start to initiate immediately to reduce the impact that that sugar will have on your health. So hopefully you will start to put some of those into place today. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.